Good afternoon, we are team number 4 and our team is composed by Ana Lucia, me, Noelia Noemi, Alejandro, Ana Isabela, Ian Santiago and Eva Amidala, and today we are going to explain to you our learning evidence.
About the authors. The brothers Grimm were Jacob Ludwig and Carl Grimm. January 4, 1785, Hanau, his castle, Germany. September 20, 1863, Berlin. And Wilhelm Carl Grimm, February 24, 1786, Hanau, his castle, Germany. December 16, 1859, Berlin. Jacob and Wilhelm Grimm were the oldest in a family of 5 brothers and 1 sister. After attending the high school in Kassel, the brothers followed their father's footsteps and studied law at the University of Marburg, 1802 and 6. With the intention of entering civil service at Marburg, they came under the influence of Clemens Brentano, who awakened in both a love of poetry, and Frederick Karl von Savigny, who taught them a method of antiquarian investigation that formed the real basis of all their related work.
First, the story takes place in Rapunzel's parents' house that has a tower with a window leading to the garden of Dame Gothel. Later on, the scenery changes to the middle of the forest, where there is a tower in which Rapunzel has been locked by Dame Gothel since she was a 12-year-old.
The brothers Grimm wanted to preserve German oral tradition. That's why they started traveling through various German towns, collecting the legends and popular stories told to them by the women who lived there. This is how their first collection of stories emerged. As they published more anthologies, they modified the stories so that they were aimed at a children audience, because this wasn't the original audience of these fairy tales. They were actually made for the public in general, but it wasn't made for children specific. And these modifications lead to what we know today as Rapunzel.
Now we are going to talk about the theme. The theme is based on fantasy, fairy tale, and love story. It's fantasy because it involves magical elements such as the plants that grow in Dame Godel's garden, and is set in a fantasy world, that is to say, a non-existent place. It's fairy tale because it's a magical story made for children. It's a love story because the romance between Rapunzel and the prince is essential for the final development of the tale.
There are a lot of characters to describe in this fairy tale, starting with Rapunzel's mother, which is a pregnant woman that is very sick and it's very desperate. It's very desperate to eat the plant that only grows in Dame Gothel's garden. Next, we have Rapunzel's father, which is a very caring and loving husband due to all the things he is willing to do to take the plant to his wife. Next, we have Dame Gothel. She's a very evil witch, and she even takes advantage of the Rapunzel's father's desperation in order to take away their child. After, we have Rapunzel. She's a very beautiful young lady with long hair, and she's very lonely due to she lives in this tower, locked from the world. And last, we have the prince. He's a very persistent gentleman due to all the things he does just to get to meet up with Rapunzel at the tower. He proposes to her in a very respecting way and has a lot of good intentions with her, so he has a very good heart.
In analysis of the story, the witch, she conditions her treatment by saying that they give her the princess who will take care of her like a own mother. In these times, witch resorts a lot to stealing children, so the story coincides with those times. And in fact, Rapunzel gets that name from the plant that her mother ate at the beginning of the story. When she was 12 years old, the enchantress shoot her into a tower which lay in a forest, had neither stairs, no door, but quit. At the top was a little window when the enchantress went to go in. Here we can see that the witch was lying about treating Rapunzel like own daughter, because it's inhuman to have someone locked from world like this. Terrible Frightened with a man such as her eyes had never yet beheld came to her, but the king's son began to talk to her quite like a friend and told her that his heart had been so stirred that it had left him no rest and he had been forced to see her. Then Rapunzel lost her fear, and when he asked her if she would take him for the husband, and she said that he was young and handsome. Here we have a proof of how the prince actually respects Rapunzel and wants to marry her only if she agrees.
"Oh, thou wicked child!" cried the enchantress. "Why do I hear thee say, I thought I had separated thee from all the world, and yet thee hast deceived me." In her anger, she clutched Rapunzel's beautiful dresses, wrapped them in twice round her left hand, seized a pair of scissors with the right, and snip snap, they were cut off, and the lovely braids lay on the ground. And she was so pitiless that she took poor Rapunzel into a desert, in where she had to live in great grief and misery. First, we can see again the use of the word thy, that we already said that it was a word used in other times to refer as you. It has the same meaning as the word you. And we have another reason why we definitely believe that the witch is a very evil and manipulative woman, because she tries to have complete control over Rapunzel's life by separating her from the world, and when she cannot have this control, goes completely insane, and Rapunzel ends up abandoned in the desert and without her beautiful hair.
Rapunzel's story starts with her mother longing for eating a magic plant that grows in an enchantress garden. After doing that, the witch is relapsed and asks for her newborn. The baby grows up and becomes into a beautiful young lady that lives alone in the forest. Soon, a prince finds her and asks her to be his wife. She accepts, but before they can finally run together, the enchantress cuts Rapunzel's hair and throws it through the window to deceive the prince and make him climb up the tower just to get attacked by the witch. It ends up blind, and after a few days, they manage to renew and form a family.
Reading skill, monitoring and clarifying. We decided that monitoring and clarifying was a good reading skill for this work because it implies identifying where meaning breaks down while reading, and then searching those concepts that are unknown to actually understand the text. And this is a very old text, so it has a certain vocabulary that we may not understand. Now, paying attention. We also used paying attention reading skill because as this is a long test with some details that we didn't want to miss, it seemed like a most suitable option.
The vocabulary context: magic, freedom, tower, locked, enchantress, plant, and hair.
Activity. Mark each as true or false according to the information in the tale. Number 1. Rapunzel was named after a bird. This is false. Number 2. The enchantress was such a beautiful young lady. That is false too. Number 3. Rapunzel's father loved his wife. This is true. After being kicked out of the tower, Rapunzel gave birth to twins. That is also true. Number 5. It took a couple of months for the prince to finally fall in love with Rapunzel. That is false. Number 6. Rapunzel's mother would have died if she didn't eat the apple. That's false. Number 7. The prince had a good heart. That's true. And number 8. The enchantress was also known as Dame Gothel. That is true. Here we delve into the symbolic layers of the tale, from the tower representing isolation to Rapunzel's hair symbolizing both her entrapment and eventual liberation. I like to consider how these symbols enrich the story's meaning and resonate with the readers.
Reflection is about the characters' development, how they react to conflicts, and how they interact with other characters, Rapunzel with his mother and with the prince.
My reflection is explore the cultural origins and variations of the Rapunzel story, reflect on how social norms, values, and historical context shape different interpretations and adaptations of the tale across diverse cultures.
With this activity, I got to analyze the psychological dimensions of the characters, such as Rapunzel's sense of identity and the witch's control tactics, because she was a very manipulative woman, and the prince's quest for love and adventure. Reflect on how these psychological elements enhance the story depth and realism.
Reflecting on the narrative structure and the gender of the fairy tale Rapunzel, I can see that it was a more like a creepy story, more like it. I don't know. Like the fact that they gave the children just for food, it was just like okay. And I think that I actually prefer more the story of the Grimm brothers than the Disney one. So that's it.
Considering the enduring relevance and adaptability of Rapunzel's tale in contemporary culture, reflect on its resonance in literature, film, and other media, and how reinterpretations of the story continue to captivate audience and offer new perspectives on timeless themes.
My conclusion is considering their underlying themes of freedom, captivity, and redemption woven through the tale reflects on how these themes intersect with broader human experience and resonates across different cultures and time periods.